Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2020, and what better way to kick off the decade of videos than with a fresh $750 gaming PC build guide. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome to Zach's Tech Turf. Today we're going to be checking out what's all inside this $750 gaming PC build guide, why I chose all these parts specifically, and then of course we're going to benchmark it. And if you're new here and you want to see other gaming PC build guides just like this one, then hit that subscribe button down below and also that notification bell. That way you never miss an episode. But before we get into it, I just wanted to let you guys know that I have a very important announcement towards the end of the video, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But yeah, let's check this thing out. Today's video is brought to you by cdkoffers.com. CDK Offers is yet another online key seller that sells a ton of software and game keys, but most importantly, our favorite cheap Windows 10 Pro keys. To get a legit activated version of Windows 10 Pro, go to the website link down in the description. Here it says the price is $13, but we'll get it cheaper than that. Select buy now, type in the promotion code ZT25 to save 25%, and now the total price shows just $10. Select submit order, choose your payment method. I recommend PayPal for these types of websites. Click pay now and go through the payment portal, and after that you'll see your order is complete. To get your key, click on user center. You'll see your Windows 10 Pro purchase, but the order is still processing. Refresh the page about after like a minute and then select view keys and codes. Select get the key, and here you'll finally see your Windows 10 Pro key that only costs $10. To activate this on a computer, press the start button and type in activation and hit enter. Here you can see that it's unactivated, so we'll select change product key, paste in the key, click activate, and then after a few minutes you'll see that Windows 10 Pro is now activated. This is actually how I activated the PC that we're looking at today. Once again, head on down to the link in the description to scoop up a copy of Windows 10 Pro for yourself for just $10. Alright, so just as a quick disclaimer before we jump into the parts list, I wanted to let you guys know that I bought a lot of these parts on Black Friday, so some of these part choices are only because of those really good deals, but if you are going to build this system today, all of these parts are pretty much available and they all make sense for the most part. First up, we get to the CPU, and I decided to go with a Ryzen 5 2600X, which is rocking 6 cores and 12 threads and a little bit higher of a clock than the 2600. Last year, the 2600 was easily the most valuable CPU for the money for these mid-range style of builds, and the 2600X is sitting at a really good price now that the Ryzen 3000 series CPUs are out. Following that, we have the motherboard, and because I got a really good deal on Black Friday, I went with the Gigabyte B450M DS3H, which I'm sure you've seen in other build guides, including some of my own. This is a super budget motherboard without any real shot of decent overclocking, not really needed though since we went with the 2600X. There are 4 RAM slots for expansion, and most importantly there's an NVMe M.2 SSD slot, which rolls us right into our next part. For storage, I chose this 1TB Crucial P1 M.2 NVMe SSD, which is usually sitting below $100. Lately in my build guides I've been only packing a 500GB SSD because it allows me to spend more of the budget towards the more performance parts, but today I decided to spend the extra money on the 1TB model, so just be aware that you can spend $50 less on your gaming PC build if you decide to go with just a 500GB SSD. Following that, we get to the RAM, and this one was definitely bought only because it was on the killer Black Friday sale, and this is the 16GB Corsair Vengeance LPX kit, which is clocked at 3200 MHz. This is actually a perfect RAM kit for this style of build. If you can't find this exact model, even specifically this red model, then just go with any reputable RAM kit that you can find at 16GB at 3000 or 3200 MHz. For our last performance-based part, we have the graphics card, and big thanks to Nvidia and EVGA for sending over their new GTX 1660 Super SC Ultra. This is actually my first 1660 Super that's ever been in the studio. I've made videos with like every other GTX 1600 series card at this point, so I'm definitely happy I could check out what this super valuable card can offer here in 2020. Transitioning over to our non-performance parts, the power supply I went with is this Rosewill Lepton 500-watt unit that's semi-modular and has an 80+ gold certified rating. Believe it or not, this PSU only cost me $45 on Black Friday, but I don't think it's available at that price anymore. I could be wrong, but if I'm not, then just go with any reputable 500-watt or more power supply that you can find on a really good deal. Next up, we get to the case, and another big thanks, this time to Corsair for sending over their new 275R Airflow. This thing comes in at just $70, and before rattling off the features, I instantly wanted to build inside of this case because of that front panel design that's obviously designed to keep internal temperatures nice and cool. Be sure to check out the temperatures in the benchmarking section of this video. That's coming soon, by the way. But yeah, I just really love the open airflow design of this front panel, which is a nice change of pace, and I just think this case looks super clean and modern. There's not too many cases on the market that have an open design up front for airflow and looks this clean and modern. It's super easy to build inside with easy routes for cable management, and it even came with 3 120mm fans, but I did end up uninstalling those. Speaking of which, as a bonus part that I did not include in our final price because you don't actually need it, I decided to throw in yet another Antec RGB fan and light strip kit that I used in my previous build guide as well. These kits that I'll have linked down in the description come with 3 RGB fans, 2 LED strips, and the hub, and it's just a simple way to add all of the RGB that you want in virtually any system. The hub only needs a SATA port for power, and I really just like how there's a ton of RGB options, and be sure to let me know what you think about this style that I went with down here in the comment section. Overall, here's what the final parts list is looking like, and for everything other than the RGB pack, here you can see that we're sitting around $750. Like I said in the intro, I paid way less than this, and some of these parts are consistently on a sale, so I would recommend having a little bit of patience and sniping the deals when they come available. Also, everything here is linked down in the description. With the parts list out of the way, it's now time for the benchmarks, and honestly, in most of these videos I debate about just starting with the benchmarking section because I'm so excited to share these results with you guys, but yeah, let's get this thing going. The first game up was Fortnite, obviously, and for here I put the settings at 1080p and Pro with a 144 FPS lock, just like I do in all these build guide videos, and with that I got an average right on the money at 144 FPS. Next up I fired up CSGO, which is absolutely no match for this beast of a build, and in 1080p and Pro settings again, here I scored an average of 246 frames per second. Getting into the more challenging games to run, we get to PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and in 1080p in high settings I actually surprised myself and still got a very high FPS average of 132. This one can definitely push Ultra if you wanted to. Following that was Borderlands 3. I have a dedicated benchmarking video on this one, by the way, and in 1080p in high settings, because this one is still very demanding to run, this system got an average FPS of 62. Rainbow Six Siege was up next, and in 1080p with Ultra settings using the built-in benchmarking tool, here I got a very nice FPS average of 182. And finally, the last game I benchmarked on this $750 build was Gears 5. Also have a dedicated benchmarking video on this one, and here I actually managed to push 1080p in Ultra settings and still got above our 60 FPS target with an FPS average of 68. As you can see, this $750 gaming PC build can certainly handle any game you throw at it in 1080p with some pretty high settings, and you could even push most games to 1440p if you wanted to. But before wrapping up this video, I did want to let you guys know, for those of you that don't already know, your boy is finally going to CES this year. Last year, I set a goal of getting my trip to CES in 2020 sponsored, and we have achieved that goal thanks to companies like Corsair, Antec, and Thermaltake. I'm super excited to attend the event. I have a schedule full of meeting with all the PC hardware companies, and I'm actually staying at an Airbnb with Oz from Oz Talks Hardware and Matt from Tech by Matt, so it should be a pretty interesting week. But I do need to ask you guys, please watch those videos so my sponsors don't get mad at me, and so sponsors sponsor my next trip to CES next year as well. Also, one more thing to ask you guys, please share those videos next week, as a ton of people that don't watch my content or don't know who I am want to stay up to date on CES coverage, and I really want to get those videos in front of as many eyeballs as I possibly can. Well, that wraps up my $750 gaming PC build guide to start off 2020 on the right foot, and once again, big thanks to Corsair, Antec, and EVGA for sending over some of these parts. As always, drop a comment down below about what you thought of this system or what you would personally do to change it. After that, feel free to head on over to one of these 2 videos if you haven't seen them yet, and definitely hit that subscribe button because coming up next, a ton of CES coverage. You don't want to miss those videos.